Welcome back to another episode of Movies with Tay. It's your host with the most, TheRealTaylorNicole. We back at it again with another episode for you. Listen, if you seen last week's episode, then you already know what's going on. But I'm gonna reiterate in case you didn't see last week's episode. This channel is going to start losing certain product or content. So like the Black History episodes are going to get pulled from this channel. The skit Wednesdays are probably going to get pulled from this channel. All this channel is probably end up going to be is just about movies and TV shows. That's all this channel is going to end up focusing on. And this is just to help YouTube place me in the correct algorithm with this channel. Also, something I didn't probably mention in the last week's episode is, as of right now, I really haven't had the time to do skits. I've been doing a lot of other stuff behind the scenes. Like getting a new podcast channel off the ground. I think I told y'all the name. I don't remember if I told y'all the name or not. I think I told y'all the name, but I just didn't tell y'all the release date yet. But I won't tell you just yet. So I discovered that the episode y'all gonna find out the release date on is gonna be the one on I'm gonna give you the release date on actually next week's episode. Next week's episode, you get the release date for the new podcast. So that'll be like the 29th, I think. I'm gonna give you the release date. Like I said, if you haven't already, make sure you guys subscribe to the new YouTube channel, which is gonna be the conversational based YouTube channel with your old ass podcast, and the Instagram page as well with your old ass podcast Instagram. So make sure you guys tune into that and get locked and loaded, because when it releases, we hitting home, and it's just the first couple episodes might just be me and a guest and a co-host, or me and just a co-host. We gonna ride this thing out, but nonetheless, we definitely gonna get some fire created for you. That's for sure. But yeah, that's a little bit of the update and the moving forwardness, if you will. So let's get cracking. So once again, this is a episode of Movies with Tay. This is episode 57, and I'm gonna give you a brief heads up. This is a 3-part episode. So this week and next week and the week after that are all 3 of these movies linked to each other. Just to give you a heads up. So if I did 1, you might as well go ahead and watch 2 and 3, so that way you can kind of know where I'm going, where I'm going. And then you can debate with me about my recap and also about my notes. All right? So, once again, this is episode 57 of Movies with Tay. The name of the movie we're dealing with is Dutch 1, or Part 1. This movie runs for about an hour and 43 minutes. The release date was March 12th of 2020. It had 2 different release dates, but this is the release date that it dropped on BET Plus, I believe. The director for this film was Preston A. Whitmore II. The producers was Manny Haley, or I think that's how you say his name, and Turner Rodney. You can watch this film on. It used to be on BET Plus. They took it off. I don't know what's going on. Don't know if it's going to go back, but it used to be on BET Plus. But now you can catch it on Tubi when it's available, Fandango at home, Plex, Amazon Prime Video, YouTube TV, Google Play Movies and TV, Apple TV. Once again, like I said, BET Plus whenever they decide to bring it back, Tubi whenever it's available, Fandango at home, Plex, Amazon Prime Video, YouTube TV, Google Play Movies and TV, and Apple TV should all have them, at least from what I understand. From the crew, the cast and the crew, you know what it do. Cast and the crew. We got Lance Gross as Bernard Dutch James. We got Natasha Mark as Michelle. Jeremy Minks as Craze. Tamara Kissin as Simone, Tyran Turner as Sugar Ray, Marquise Moore as Zoom, and Miles Strouder as Quan. I couldn't find, and maybe because it just for some reason wasn't crediting her, but I didn't find the young lady who played Angel, because there's a character named Angel in this trilogy, and I could not find her name for nothing. So if I find it by the time this is done being edited, I'm gonna make sure I give her credit, because there was a character named Angel in this film as well. And then also it was many and more other people. Like Gunna was in this one. It's a lot of other people that was in this film. But that's the cast and the crew. You know how I do. Now before we get into the recap of the movie, excuse me, before we get into the recap of the movie, y'all know what I like to do. I like to thank y'all for tuning in, subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing, whatever it is that you are out there doing for me. I appreciate every single bit of it. I do want to keep encouraging you guys to share, like, and comment every time you see one of these, or leave a comment, even if you're not interested in, sharing it, at least leave a comment or like it or do something. Whatever it is you could do for me, I'm gladly appreciative to it. Sorry about that. My voice is getting dry. But anything that you guys offer up, I'm appreciative too, no matter what. So let's jump into it, shall we? So the movie opens up with us meeting a younger Bernard James, aka Dutch. He works for a guy named Roberto at a pizza shop. The pizza shop is really a front for the Italian mob or Italian drug dealers, whatever you want to call them. It's really a storefront for these people, But Bernard works there, and while he's there, Michael Blackston, I don't know, he's the robber. Michael Blackston plays this robber cat. He comes in and he's trying to rob the spot, right? And they give him the cash, but Dutch opens up his mouth, or Bernard at the time. His name was Bernard in the beginning of the movie. They called him Bernard at first. He opens his mouth, tells the cat it's money in the bag, and blah blah blah. So they go to the back. What it was is Bernard was setting up the robber to kill him, basically. But he wanted to take him to the back to do it, basically. And while they was opening up the safe, Bernard, pow, popped him, right? So he gets taken to the head of Roberto's crew, the head of the Italian folks, if you will, and they, the owner dude, or the boss, if you will, the big boy, he ends up telling Dutch, like, I don't like the name Bernard. I had this black guy that used to work for me back in the day. We called him Dutch. Now we're gonna call you Dutch. So that's how he got his name, Dutch. So it moves on from us with the younger Dutch. We just get a small recap about how he became Dutch and how he got the name. So now we meet older Dutch, who is meeting up with a criminal attorney by the name of Michelle. Basically, he's asking her to represent him in a murder case, if you will, because she thought he was going to be asked to be represented for drugs, but that he's not even being arrested over drugs. He's actually being arrested over a bombing of a police station or a precinct, whatever you want to call it. But he's being arrested for that, and he didn't do it. For as he, like he telling her, I didn't do it, but they could tell you better than I can about my charges, and they ended up arresting him, taking him. Now he's been locked up for about 6 months, because the movie does jump kind of fast. So she ends up representing him after she told him she wouldn't do it at first, but when they came in there just arresting him and blah blah blah, she ended up deciding to represent him. So he been in there about 6 months, right? Back and forth, his attorney doing interviews, letting him know like she's gonna be able to prove without a shadow of doubt that he had nothing to do with the bombing. There was nothing he did, and blah blah blah, you know. And while he's, you know, locked up, she mentions the name William Brent. She was like, William Brent, who also went by another name. She was like, he was the one who decided to blow up the precinct himself. He took himself out right along with it. It was just a suicide bombing. My client had nothing to do with that, basically. So one thing that after it jumped from that, it jumps to Dutch getting ready to go to court. This is one of his hearings, if you will. And while they're in the courtroom, the prosecutor, the DA, he's up there bad mouthing Dutch, calling him evil, calling him, this, that, and the third, just talking mad reckless about Dutch, right? And he called him like a terrorist. He just doing his persuasive speech in front of the jury, but the defense ends up not getting an opportunity to rebuttal his derogatory remarks about Dutch. And Dutch tells her to chill out. See, Dutch already kind of knew that he was going to lose his case. You could tell at him and tell he was going to lose anyway. You can literally look at his face and go, he knows he's getting ready to lose his case regardless. But of course, he still do what he got to do. So Michelle and her colleagues spend time, breaking down and diffusing Dutch's case. And they go so far back into his past to kind of, you know, understand a little bit about him. They bring about his past. So back in the day, before Dutch got into the drug game, him and his crew, Craze, Quan, and Angel, used to steal cars together, right? They'll steal cars and take care of it. That was for Roberto and his crew and some cat named Frank. That's they all work for the big dog. I can't remember his name right now, but they used to steal the cars. They was doing all kind of stuff. Well, Roberto pulls up after they had stole these BMWs for Roberto and Frank and them or whatever. And Roberto pulls up and let him know like the big dog is like, ready to pull y'all from stealing cars to moving y'all to pushing weight. So he tell him, he's like, look, you can, and I think he was stealing the cars for Frank, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, sorry about that. So Roberto was like, listen, the big man said y'all ready to move on to pushing weight. You can take whoever you want with you. You ain't got to worry about nobody, griping about it. So Dutch was like, you sure Frank gonna be cool with that? Because I don't want no problems with dudes. So Roberto was like, listen, it's this car that Frank wants. If you can get it for him, and I think his name is Frank, I'm paraphrasing, I don't give a fuck about the dude to be honest with you. But he's like, if you can get it for him, that'll be cool. You'll probably score some points in his book, and he'll probably back off of you a little bit. So they go ahead and they get prepared to steal what was the car? Uh it was like a Bel Air coupe that he won, a red Bel Air coupe from some dude he claimed he was trying to buy it from. Well, they come up with a plan to steal it, and Dutch and Quan both helped steal the car. Well, Craze, Angel, and them, they all four of them team up together to steal the car and whatever. But Dutch and Quan were the two who actually were caught in the car. See, here's the thing. I'm gonna just get y'all this up front because it's gonna come out later in the movie anyway. Frank set them up. They got set up. Frank set them up to go steal those cars to get them locked up because Frank don't like Dutch. He could see the power in Dutch and he know where Dutch is going to head to. So he got Dutch locked up and Quan locked up for stealing that Bel Air. Well, after they stole the car, um, hold on, let me make sure I ain't go too far. Hold on, give me a second. I'll make sure. Fat Tony, that was his name. Fat Tony. Fat Tony was the guy that everybody had to answer to. So basically, they gave you that flashback to show you Dutch's crew. They gave that flashback to show you Dutch's crew and everybody who's important, if you will. So now we go back to the court scene. Now we back in court, and my bad. Hold on, I gotta zoom up so I can see what I'm seeing. So basically, we go back to the court scene, and the prosecutor brings in another prisoner that was in prison with Dutch, that's considered a rival, and he's giving his testimony. And while he's giving his testimony, um, to the prosecutor or to the DA, whichever one you want to call him, while he's up there getting his testimony, they asking questions, and he's kind of like trying to paint Dutch out to look like this big evil dude, talking about somehow when he was in prison, he made his presence known, he made his presence felt, and saying he wasn't no punk and this, that, and the third, and all that jazz, right? But he also explained that everybody in there in prison was clicked up in a gang, whether it was city versus city, uh, uh, gang versus gang, whatever it was that street versus street, or whatever the case may be. They all were clicked up in some type of way, form, and fashion. So him and Dutch were considered rivals because they were from a different part of town, if you will. So when Michelle gets up there, she starts ripping his testimony apart, if you will. She eating his ass up. Pause. And she just made him look like he was a liar. She was like, "Cause if a rival gang member would do anything to take the other one out, how do we know you're not up here lying and just trying to paint Dutch out to be this evil person because you don't want to see him out, you don't want to see him free, basically." So the prosecuting attorney, the DA guy Jacobs, he goes to visit some of Dutch's crew. One being this cat named Rock. And he also goes and visits Angel. He tries to get them to flip on Dutch. So with Rock, he tried to convince Rock to talk. And Rock was like, "Listen, if you give me some McDonald's, I might remember something." Well, he played the hell out of that damn prosecutor because he got him that McDonald's, and Buddy didn't tell him two words, pretty much. Angel wouldn't flip either. So he was pretty much at a crossroads when it came to getting people that knew Dutch to flip on Dutch, except for one person. But we're going to get to that in a minute. So it's this random ass moment in the movie that made sense but didn't make sense. So when Michelle and her assistant are at her house, they're talking about Dutch's case and figuring out a way to try to basically win the case. While they're sitting there, a blue Monte Carlo pulls up and starts spraying through her window. Right? She goes to Dutch and she snaps. She like, "Yo, what the fuck, bro? What you get me into? Like, somebody just came through and sprayed my house down, cuz. What you got going on?" And Dutch like, "Shit, what happened?" And she tell me it's a blue Monte Carlo. He like, "You sure it was a blue Monte Carlo?" She's like, "Hell yeah, but I ain't give a fuck about none of that. I'm getting shot at. Why am I getting shot at, bro?" And Dutch like, I'll tell you sooner rather than later." So we go back 7 years, right? Now this, like I said, this movie jumps around a lot, but it's putting pieces to the puzzle together. We go back 7 years. 7 years before this moment that we're at today, Dutch had just got released from prison. So he had only been out 7 years. So he gets released 7 years, and when he gets out, from the carjacking that him and Quan did, and really Crazy and Angel did it too. But they the two that got caught. When they get out, Dutch gets out, finds out that this cat named Kazami then took over their little drug business, and he the man on the streets. So basically, Fat Tony, Frank, and Roberto had been trying to get Kazami, but they hadn't had the opportunity. Like every time they do, they keep missing. So Fat Tony, like, this motherfucker's a thorn in my side, bro, but they can't get him. So when Dutch get out, Craze and Angel pretty much let him know, like, Fat Tony, Frank, and Roberto ain't stopping shit. Kazami been running the streets and they ain't been able to stop the cat. So Dutch like, all right, well, cool. Take me to my mama real quick. I'm gonna go see my mama. When I get that done, we gonna slide. We gonna figure out a way to get this cat Kazami, right? So Dutch goes to see his mama, who's played by Macy Gray, and pretty much his mama, it was kind of confusing because like she was mad at him for going to jail, but then turned around and told him to go take back what people took from him. I was so confused because she was, yelling at him about risking his freedom to give her a life she didn't ask for, but then at the same time told him to go take back what. I was so confused by her. She I don't know. She kind of confused me, but anyway, so basically that gives Michelle the opportunity to know a little bit more about the backstory, right? So now in this 7 year window, we're gonna move forward a 3 years of that 7 years. But we still in the back. We still in the backstory. 3 years ago, Quan goes to see Dutch and tells him pretty much like he don't really want no parts of that shit no more. Now, Dutch is cool. He lets him go. Craze says we probably should kill this nigga. And Dutch like he ain't gonna say nothing. Like he involved in too much shit himself. He ain't gonna say nothing. So he lets him go. Bad idea. Cause who comes walking in the courtroom? Quan. Quan comes in looking scared, but he testifies against Dutch in a hearing. And he tells the prosecutor a lot of stuff about their past that really he could have just kept his mouth shut on. But he started running his mouth, and during the time while he starts to talk, he kind of gets scared. You could tell tell he really truly just didn't want to say nothing, but he felt like he was doing the right thing by speaking up. He was trying to take the righteous path, if you will. And instead of him just saying he don't recall, after they took a little short recess, man, they come back and he continues the story about Kazami. He tells them that Dutch made a plan to kill Kazami's wife's father, which would make Kazami's wife fall, and it'd be easy for them to use her to get to Kazami, and they just basically could tell you the story about how they plan to tear Kazami down. They used Sugar Ray to get to Simone, which was Kazami's wife, I believe. I think that was her name, but they used her and they use Sugar Ray to get to her. Sugar Ray does his job. He gets to her. So now, basically after they, come up with a master plan, where Sugar Ray and Craze pretend to be some repairman, Quan and Angel kick in Kazami's dope spot, steal all the dope, steal all his money and everything that they can get from him, and then Dutch, Craze, and Sugar Ray pull up to the crib and they pretty much hijack the brother, take all his shit. Well, that's pretty much how to go down. You got to watch the rest of the movie to kind of figure all that out. Well, here's the thing. After they took Kazami down, Crazy Self took Kazami's head to Fat Tony and showed Fat Tony like y'all couldn't take him out, so we did it for you. And Fat Tony like shit. Now you know what I'm saying. I know why they call you crazy now, or why they call you crazy, should I say? But get this head up out of here. What's wrong with you? Which is true. What the hell would you bring a head to me for? But they ended up letting them know like you forever, with us for sure, for sure. So now we're gonna make sure y'all got protection and from the police. Y'all with us. You got full blown protection with us. We're gonna protect you. While he says that, Fat Tony gives his word. Roberto's cool with it. Frank is not. Frank don't like the fact that Fat Tony rocking with some niggas. So it's not cool for him. So Frank starts to try to talk shit to Fat Tony. And Fat Tony like, who's running this show? You shut your ass up. I'm your boss. You don't tell me what to do. I said that they good. You need to stop living in the past and get with the times, bro. You being racist. Get over it. So Frank like, all right, cool. You wanna still be cool with these fools, these Mulians as they call them? Cool, do your thing. So the entire jury thinks Dutch is guilty, besides a few black people, right? A few of the black folks don't think he's guilty, but you know, especially this older black lady, she like, I don't think he guilty. I think he innocent, or at least not guilty of what they saying he guilty of. Blah blah blah. So while they're discussing that, Michelle ends up going to go see Dutch in prison and asking, or jail, whatever you want to call it. But goes and asking you, like, do you know anybody who could talk good about you? Anybody in particular? And Dutch, like, nah, not for real. But he has a flashback of a shorty that he played spades with, and they had a little romance, if you will. Like, he wasn't good at playing spades, and he kind of lost her some bread, but he really pretty much he trying to he had a little fling with shorty, right? And that's the only person he could think of, but he don't tell Michelle that. But that's the only person that he could think of that he had a connection with. So he pretty much tell him like, nah, I don't know nobody, even though he knows somebody. But uh, this is what I was gonna say. I had to think about this. So this is why I say Frank or Frankie, whatever you want to call him. This is why I say he didn't like Dutch from the beginning. This motherfucker goes and lies and tells Fat Tony and Roberto that he pulled up on Dutch and his crew and was like talking reckless to him, talking about some, basically say he was putting them in their place. In fact, Tony and Roberto like, bro, what are you doing? Didn't I tell you leave them alone? Like, why you keep bothering them? Leave them alone. Let them do their thing. Whatever they got going on is not gonna affect me. If they do something like I done told him in the past, because Roberto did tell Dutch that if your crew ever burn you, flip on you, or fuck you over, that's on you. That ain't got nothing to do with us. That's on you. So that's what Fat Tony was trying to get Frank to understand. If his crew burn him, that is on him. We are good. We ain't got nothing to worry about. We straight. But Frank won't let it go, even though Fat Tony keep telling him, leave that shit alone. Well, like I said, Dutch and old girl was messing around or whatever, right? Well, we finally get to see who this William Brent is, because a lot of this is in the past. Like a lot of the stuff we're going through is in the past. We finally get to meet William Brent. Well, William Brent is a white dude who wanted some work. He wanted a job. He wanted something so he can get some bread to, feed his family, he say. Well, the thing is, remember when I said Roberto said that if your crew fuck you over, that's on you? This is where the crew started to fuck Dutch over. So when William Brent went to go see Dutch, Dutch wasn't there. So instead, William talked to Dutch's crew, Craze, Angel, Rock, and somebody else, I think maybe even Zoom. And because Quan was already gone by this point. So Quan had nothing to do with this part. Um, but he goes to see him. They give him a job. They give him a job. He burns the crew and basically tries to rob him, I guess, if you could say, for their bread or they work, something like that. And they get him. But they beat him up and everything. And then they basically lie and say that Dutch told them, because Dutch was never there when this conversation took place. But Craze tells William Brent that Dutch told him that he needed to strap a bomb to him and take some people out with him. Now, I ain't never known a motherfucker. If you owe me bread, I'm not coming after a bunch of innocent people. That don't even make sense. That's just crazy being crazy. And this is what they told him. So apparently, William wrote a note telling his wife and kids and stuff that he about to go commit suicide because Dutch told him to. Dutch never told him to do nothing. But this is what Roberto meant by if your team fuck you over, it's on you. Because his team set that up, not Dutch. Well, anyway, um, Fat Tony gets asked to pull up to Frankie's spot. Frankie and him talk and whatever the case may be. Well, as Fat Tony was leaving, Frankie still kept making disrespectful remarks about Dutch. So Fat Tony had to try to set him straight again. But see, Frank was on some bitch shit and killed Fat Tony. Killed him. Caught him off guard. Dude strangled Fat Tony on some weak shit and killed him. Then this fool had the nerve to show up to Fat Tony's funeral, pretending to be like he was sad, knowing that he the one who killed Fat Tony. And when he did it so he could release and get Dutch and them's protection removed. Because remember, Fat Tony gave them protection through the police, so they ain't have to worry about going to jail, getting arrested, or none of that. So when he killed Fat Tony, that was his plan to get the police off of Dutch's, side. So, well, they like I said, after they had Fat Tony's death, uh, this is when dude ends up wanting to go blow himself up at this point. So now we fast forward a little bit more. This is where after the blowing up incident happened, Rock and his baby mama was having another baby. So Rock, Zoom, Angel, and Craze was all leaving the hospital with Rock after his baby was born, and they all end up getting arrested. everybody but Craze, I think. I think Craze was the only one who didn't get arrested. But Angel, Zoom, and Rock get arrested. Now, Zoom ended up getting popped, though, because Zoom dumbass pulled out a gun, shooting at the police like they wasn't going to pop his goofy ass. And he get popped. And from the looks of it, it looked like he was going to die. That's kind of how it looked. Well, the like I said earlier about the them writing the thing. So we later find out that the black lady juror that was on Dutch's side really wasn't on Dutch's side. She was actually a plant by the DA to set Dutch up for him to go to jail. Cause she was the one that's supposed to be rocking for Dutch. So when she flip on Dutch, it'll be easy for everybody to basically the setup. Then we also find out that Frank had the judge in his back pocket too. So Dutch already knew the game. He knew he was gonna go to jail. He knew it wasn't no way around it. He knew the DA had the jury in his pocket. He knew the judge was bought and paid for. He told Michelle that. Michelle like, well, why the hell did you have me fight a case if you knew that they was already bought and paid for? You knew you was gonna lose. Why would you, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, this is also kind of where Michelle messed up at. Because how did you didn't get a fair trial at all. You should have asked for a different judge, a whole nother judge or something, because you could tell you weren't getting a fair trial. He kept interjecting everything. He wouldn't let you give a closing statement. He just kept railroading you in the case. So you should have known then something was up. But Dutch even told her, the man who set me up is going to be in this courtroom today to make sure that I go to jail. You ain't gonna never you may not have never seen this man in here before, but you're gonna see him in here today for my sentencing. And Dutch, of course, gets found guilty as he expected. So Dutch's crew came in the courtroom, guns a blazing, locked the courtroom up and everything. They came in there, foo, 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 foo. And Dutch ends up popping Frankie, and basically he jumps out the window after he done shot up everybody. Even the judge got popped, and his crew done killed everybody and everything else. Like, and he just jumps out the window. Yeah. And when he jumped out the window, there was a helicopter that you seen fly off, but everybody else, assuming that he, you know, might be dead because he done jumped out the window. They don't know if he jumped to his death. They don't know if he, took off in a helicopter. They not 100% sure. We assuming he had jumped in a helicopter and took off, but um, oh, and the DA and his assistant, both of them got popped, and I was glad they both got popped because that's what they get, punk asses. Knew they knew that he didn't do that, but trying to be in the bag with Frank, and Frank fucked them all. So key moments that happened that I didn't mention in the recap. Craze killed Monte Carlo. Craze killed him. Dutch knew that Quan was going to leave to LA to become a preacher. He already knew that's what he was going to go do, but Dutch never anticipated on Quan coming back and snitching. Um, so the precinct being blown up, that was William's choice. Nobody, not even Craze, nobody told him that he had to go and damn it, that he had to go and blow up the precinct. Nobody told him that. He chose to do that himself. Nobody said he had to do that. So that was actually William's decision to do that. Nobody told him he had to do that. So for the notes, when Dutch and them set up the plan to rob Kazami and kill Kazami, when Craze and Sugar Ray was pretending to be the repairman, that doorman should have been killed on sight because Buddy didn't do a good job at all. He didn't do a good job. Did you hire these repairmen? Did you know who they are? Did you make the phone call? Because you're the doorman. And you supposed to be his hand man at the same time. So how are you not aware of what repair people are coming when they coming to repair? And then on top of that, I could have sworn he said when he came back out from checking, I could have sworn he said that it was already fixed. So if the shit was already fixed, why would your dumb ass allow these repairmen in the house? So he should have got popped off just off of principle, right? Um, I don't understand why Quan was even. This is the thing that throws me off. If the DAR had already had the jury in his pocket and the judge was already in Frank's pocket, what was the purpose of pulling Quan in and having him testify anyway? And why the hell did Quan even agree to do it? You should have never even had agreed to testify. For what? You're in LA. I would have stayed gone. I'd have minded my business. I'd have told him I don't have nothing to do with that. I don't know what you're talking about. I've been gone for years. That has nothing to do with me. I've been gone for like 3, 4 years. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't bring me into this bullshit. That's what I would have said. Then I'm confused because when the movie was first introduced, I only knew about Angel, Quan, Craze, and Dutch. When the hell did Zoom and Rock become part of the crew anyway? Because they just, I guess maybe when they started pushing dope, I guess is when they became part of the crew, I guess. Because the carjacking crew was just Dutch, Angel, and Craze and Quan. So I'm assuming that Zoom and Rock came along when they started pushing dope. Maybe, I guess. Um Gunna, his acting, I'm gonna just leave it at that. Uh when when Michelle would go visit Dutch and talk to Dutch and when she's talking to him in jail, I noticed she kept sitting on that dirty ass floor. I ain't sitting on no dirty ass floor in jail. And then Dutch and they're doing push ups on that dirty ass floor. But then again, I do remember hearing Ali say, and a few people I know personally say that actually the prison floors actually ain't as dirty as we think they are, if as long as you and your cellie keep it clean. So I guess maybe Dutch just kept his prison floors clean enough for him to feel comfortable. But Michelle was sitting outside the cell. She was sitting in the main hallway. I don't know if the main hallway would have been clean unless they keep it clean. I don't know. I ain't never been to prison. Don't want to go. So, um, I stand on what I said. Dutch had nothing to do with that explosion. That was Dutch's crew who put that plan together. Dutch was not there when they told William to do that. Dutch was not there when they gave William a job, and I don't remember hearing Dutch's voice on no phone. All of them, Rock, Zoom, Craze, Angel, all of them to me put Dutch in a bad position from the jump because I don't remember none of y'all running that past Dutch. And like that's why I say Dutch has grace because he don't even he don't even turn on his own crew when his own crew kind of set him up. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. But the thing is, uh, like I said earlier, when Roberto told him if your crew fuck you over, that's on you. Dutch should have been very cautious because everything his crew did, he should have known about. There was no way that his team should have made moves and not communicated with him about what the moves they was making. And maybe they just didn't show us that, but I don't remember Dutch knowing anything about the explosion. But Dutch knowing from the jump that he was going to jail, and him knowing that the judge and the jury was paid for, made sense why he ended up making sure that he had a way out. Cause when he kept saying he wasn't going back to prison, he kept telling his mama that I ain't going back to prison. I ain't going back. He meant that. He stood on it. He wasn't going back to jail. Whether he died or escaped, he wasn't going back to jail. He wasn't doing that. So him knowing that, he knew from the jump that he was gonna have to plan his great escape. So he had everything mapped out and laid out the day before he even got arrested. Because the thing that threw me though is I'm like, how did Dutch know that he was going to jail? How did Dutch know that he was gonna get arrested for something that he didn't have nothing to do with? I don't know. Like that's why I'm confused because they never really explained how Dutch knew he was going to go get arrested for something that he didn't have nothing to do with. You know? So I don't know. I guess maybe for someone from the inside informed him that he was going to jail or getting arrested for the bombing. I don't know. I still didn't understand that part. Michelle still tried to do her job, even though Dutch told her they was gonna lose the case. She still tried to get this award-winning speech, try to be this upstanding attorney, knowing goddamn well they was gonna lose. Cause Dutch told her, we gonna lose. And she still kept trying to be this old great ass attorney, proving without a shadow of a doubt that he's innocent instead of just winging it. Um when the courtroom scene happened, I was trying to figure out see this is why you gotta hire better security. Because when that courtroom shit happened, the damn stupid ass bailiff and sheriff, whatever you want to call him, his stupid ass was sitting there looking lost. The little smoke thing coming there, and he told some, "What the hell are you doing? You supposed to be law enforcement, and you sitting there looking foolish, goofy ass." He the reason why everybody got popped. He wasn't on his P's and Q's. Cause how you ain't know that the courtroom door got locked? That's another thing. And where was everybody at when all this was going down? Where the other bailiffs at? Where the other sheriffs at? Where everybody at in the courthouse? Cause I done been in the courthouse and they got security. So where was everybody at? Hiding on bullshit. Um, if you watch the movie or come back for part two, you'll find out part two and part three, you'll find out in full form how they set the courtroom up and how they was able to get it done. Or you can watch the movie. It's up to you. But for concluding the film, and this is the rating factor category, if you will. Y'all know I got 5 categories: storyline, cast, relativeness, enjoyableness, and learning level. For the storyline, I gave it a 5 because when you actually watch the movie and start piecing to the puzzles together, it actually starts making more and more sense. So the whole part 1 was just us learning who Dutch was, how Dutch became Dutch, and also just kind of understanding that every bit of what was being told to him um was a foreshadowment. When Roberto told him, if your team fuck you over, it's on you, it was a foreshadow that later on down the road his team was probably gonna fuck him over. And then, it's just the storyline of basically somebody who then did a lot of dirt, even though what they're accusing him of he didn't necessarily have anything to do with. It's like a karma thing, if you will. We couldn't pin you or get you for this, so we're going to get you for that type of situation. But then, this is where it kind of just like comes at a standstill of, y'all not gonna strip away my freedom for something I know I didn't do. If y'all would have got me for stuff I did, that's one thing. But y'all trying to get me for stuff I didn't do, not gonna happen. And then when it came to the cast and the crew, um, I liked Michelle's character, Dutch's character. I liked Craze and hell, even Quan's character. As far as like the acting went, as far as like my characters that I actually truly liked, I fucked with Craze, I fucked with Dutch, and I fucked with Michelle. Um, even Fat Tony and Roberto, I fucked with them, right? Rock's character, Zoom, and Angel, nah. In part 1, Angel was cool, but I don't know. They like, and I kind of was upset at Craze too. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, even though Rock was the one who made the initial call to give William that job, I kind of was mad at Craze too because you kind of knew what y'all was doing what could potentially backfire on Dutch. But as far as acting is concerned, the only one I had a problem with their acting was Gunna. I don't know, something about his acting just, and maybe it was his veneers. I don't know, but his acting just didn't sit well with me. Oh, him and the DA's assistant, the black chick that played the DA's assistant, I ain't like her either. Cause when she gonna hit Michelle Nichols with the "Who the hell are you?" Girl, get your goof ass on with that bald head ass that you got, bald headed heifer. Um, but that's neither here nor there. Enjoyableness, I gave it a 5. Um, After I rewatched part 1, I understood it better. The first time I watched part 1, I was kind of confused. I really didn't understand what the hell he was going to jail for, but I also realized I wasn't paying attention. That's why I didn't understand what the hell he's going to jail for. Um, but when I rewatched it and I put the pieces to the puzzle together and they fit, it made it. It left no unclear images. Everything made sense at that point to me. That you ran these streets, you terrorized the streets, you was the big kingpin drug guy on the grind, and you was feared in the streets. You was that guy that the FBI, the DEA, and the DA and everybody else wanted off the streets because you was that guy. So it was an enjoyable movie to watch. Um, what was I gonna say? Yeah, it was an enjoyable movie to watch. Now, as far as learning level, I gave it a 5, which means the movie got a 23 out of 25. If you can't do math, I did it for you. But for learning level, I gave it a 5 because Dutch really needed to stop being so damn naive because he was naive his damn self. Because when you're going into a new realm of business, you can't take everybody with you. You just can't. You can't take everybody with you. Now, see, Rock and Craze weren't bad when it came to probably selling product and doing stuff like that. But Rock initiated William to blow itself up, and so did Craze. They kind of put Dutch in a weird position, if you will. And then like Quan, he should have known Quan wasn't built to go into the drug game. You were naive to bring him along in that. You should have left Quan where he was. Quan was good at stealing cars. I would have never brought Quan in. Once he went to prison, you should have noticed a difference in him then. And I never would have brought him into the drug game. He wasn't cut out for that. That was where he made his first mistake. Is bringing him along when he didn't need to. And then also his second mistake was not making sure his team knew if y'all gonna do some shit, run it by me before you do it. Don't use my name unless I actually put a stamp on it. That's what one thing that he should have done. Um, and then two, he should just kept his head on a swivel. If to be completely honest, if Dutch would have just left town before they even got a chance to arrest him and went overseas, they would have had to get a warrant to come and get Dutch. But I guess he wasn't trying to run from no fades, I guess, you know. But then too, you know, should Dutch had sorry. Should Dutch had even attempted, you know, to even go to trial? Should he had just accepted a plea? Should Dutch had, you know, went the route he did and jumped out the window at the courthouse? You know, so there was a lot to question like about what Dutch should have or should not have done. Um but one thing that this learning level of this movie was to show that you can you can you can always be the big dog on top and fall instantly from not paying attention. You know what I'm saying? Or get hemmed up because you ain't paying attention. And you know, or paying attention but not able to stop something or prevent something because either you caught it too late or you got jammed up in a position where you can't get out of. So you know, it goes to show that your surroundings that you put around you need to have your best interest at heart. That's what it goes to show is that you have to put people surrounded by you that have just as much to lose as you do and don't want to lose. And then also too, they got your best interest at heart. That's what this movie went to show, in my opinion. Just saying. But like I said, come back next week for part two. Because part two gonna open up your eyes to some other stuff that was going on. So, and don't be surprised, I'm gonna have on this same shirt because I'm shooting all these in the same day. Just so y'all don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. But come back for part two next week. I'll see y'all soon. Thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all for viewing. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, and share and comment. And don't forget, argue with your mama. Cause I ain't gonna argue with you. Peace out.